What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, it's been a while. It's been a long time coming. We've had this political cycle, if you will, this presidential election for the past 2 years, ever since Donald Trump announced he was going to run again. And ever since Donald Trump announced he was going to run again, and as a matter of fact, since, well, before that, but since I've been starting to pay attention closely to politics, we've been hearing nothing but
Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy.
Insurrection placed a dagger at the throat of American democracy since that moment.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
For decades and decades throughout history, the former president's actions represented a unique and existential threat to our democracy.
I know him well, and I know the danger he presents to our democracy.
Make no mistake, by doing that, he is threatening our democracy.
The defeated former president has made no secret of his attack on our democracy. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
The biggest threat to U.S. democracy.
What, in your view, constitutes the primary threat to freedom and democracy at home?
Donald Trump. Seriously.
This is the nightmare for American democracy President Biden warned about.
This MAGA threat is a threat to the brick and mortar of our democratic institutions.
So we're sort of gambling a lot of people's lives and our democracy on the idea that this rhetoric doesn't translate into real world violence.
Yeah, he's a threat to democracy, blah, 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 blah. We get it. We're constantly hearing that from the left. They're still spouting this nonsense every single day on MSNBC, CNN, and all these places, right? But one thing we have learned is that, you know, the corporate press and people lie. They lie for their own interests, for their own beliefs, for whatever reason they want to lie about. Because we can go back and look at Donald Trump's presidency and see that it wasn't a threat to democracy. He wasn't attacking any institutions whatsoever. And it's just ridiculous when you get down to the bare bones of the situation. Now, once again, I'm having to make another video where the main theme of this video is every accusation is a confession. Because, folks, if you think that the Democrats and the woke left are just going to roll over and just say, okay, Donald Trump's president, yeah, you got another thing coming. Because that's not what they're going to do, folks.
If Trump attempts to weaponize the justice system against his political opponents with Matt Gaetz at the helm, we could see incoming Senator Adam Schiff as our shadow attorney general, arguing against replacing our independent prosecutors with Trump loyalists. If Trump seeks to eliminate the Department of Education, Congresswoman Johanna Hayes, a former Teacher of the Year, could step up as shadow education secretary to loudly defend public education in the United States. If Trump orders Marco Rubio to hand Ukraine and much of Eastern Europe to Russian President Vladimir Putin, Congressman Greg Meeks, as Shadow Secretary of State, could be a strong voice in support of maintaining international relationships and protecting democracy at home and abroad. Senator Michael Bennet as Shadow Treasury Secretary, and Congresswoman Susan DelBene as Shadow Commerce Secretary could help ensure the middle class and small businesses have a voice in government and call out Trump's proposed tax cuts for billionaires and corporations. As Shadow Defense Secretary, Congressman Adam Smith, a great representative for the people of Washington and not a Fox News host, could counter Trump's threat to use military force against his political opponents and work to ensure that the Department of Defense stays loyal to the Constitution and not some wannabe dictator. And Senator Tammy Duckworth could argue against cuts to the Department of Veterans Affairs that would delay the benefits and care our service members have so rightly earned. If Trump hands over the EPA to big oil ally Lee Zeldin, we could see Congresswoman Kathy Castor pushing back for environmental protection and conservation to protect the air we breathe and the water we drink. And if Trump pushes to ban abortion nationwide, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro could step in as Shadow Secretary of Health and Human Services to defend women's right to choose and argue against the gutting of Medicare by Trump and his cronies. Mr. Speaker, new times require new solutions. The shadow cabinet isn't just about opposing extreme MAGA attacks on our government. It's also about making clear what we stand for, not just what we're against.
Now, one thing I didn't hear in all that insanity that guy just spewed out was who's going to be the shadow president, folks. And what's the deal with the left and their shadow whatever? Because they had the shadow campaign and they called it the shadow campaign. They're doing all this in the dark, in secret. Folks, what is going on in our country? Do you think this is going to end well when we have congressmen on the floor of the House openly saying, we're going to defy the federal government. We don't care. Like, this can't end well, y'all. Like, seriously. And I don't understand this. But that's not the only movement. Check this out, y'all. Blue state governors form nonpartisan team to battle Trump administration. That's right. So now the governors are getting in the act. What is wrong with these people? Why can't they just fight through the normal institutions? What are they actually thinking, folks? We are devolving into something. These people can't stand the fact that Donald Trump won the popular mandate, won the popular vote, and is back in power and is going to clean this country up, make this country great again. And for some reason, they can't stand it. They want to burn everything to the freaking ground with all their insanity. It's nuts. Let's go. On Wednesday, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Colorado Governor Jared Polis, I'm not sure, unveiled a so-called nonpartisan state-level initiative designed to strengthen government institutions and defend against threats to democracy around a week after President-elect Donald Trump won the 2024 election. The nonpartisan governors safeguarding democracy will be headed by the two Democratic governors. According to its website, the group will leverage the collective strength, experience, and institutional knowledge in governors' offices across the country to craft laws and policies that protect the rule of law and serve the people of our great states. Yeah, you know what? We already have institutions that do that. We don't need the governors to get together and do that. We have the federal government, folks. And do these people really think that the Trump administration is not going to uphold the rule of law? Do they really think that? Do they really think that Matt Gaetz heading up the DOJ is a bad thing? Yes, as a matter of fact, they do. They think a lot of that. Why? Because Matt Gaetz doesn't like the political establishment. And when you go after the political establishment, they are going to stick together. They are going to come back fists swinging, folks. And that's exactly what they're doing here. When Pritzker told the New York Times about the group, he stated, Donald Trump is going to bring people into his administration who are absolute loyalists to his cult of personality and not necessarily to the law. That's hilarious, because if you look at everything in its totality, right? The far left is a cult. Democrats are in a cult. They refuse the reality. They don't care about facts, or they'll take specific facts, cherry pick them out, throw them with whatever context they want to throw it with, and then just go with that, acting like that's reality. When you need all context, you need everything Donald Trump said, or you need everything involving this certain situation. Like they telling you that, oh, the economy's great, y'all. Yeah, but what they're not telling you is inflation rose to 9%, wages stayed about the same, and people are struggling. Yeah, that's what they didn't tell you. Yeah, the economic numbers look okay. Yeah, the stock market's fine and all this jazz, right? But if you look at everything in totality, it looks like we're in a recession, because it feels like we're in a recession, even though the numbers don't really point to a recession. Some of the numbers don't point to a recession. Some of the numbers do. It's things like this that Democrats just deny, sections that are inconvenient to them, and they just want to go with this narrative over here. Right, thinking, this is just absurd on its face. He added last time he didn't really know where the levers of government were. I think he probably does now, and I think that the threat remains great. What threat is that? You mean a bunch of governors getting together to defy Donald Trump's administration, the federal government? And, oh, you mean congressmen getting together to form a shadow government? That kind of threat? The coalition stated that it would share information and tools with governors' offices nationwide and collaborate with legal professionals, think tanks, and democracy advocates to develop policies potentially in opposition to the president-elect. In this moment, protecting democracy has never been more relevant or important, and doing so demands strong leadership at the state level, Governor Poley said in a press release. Governor Safeguarding Democracy shows our shared dedication to defending the democratic principles upon which our country is built. On its website, GSD stated that it would collaborate with other states to create playbooks that will help governors anticipate and swiftly respond to emerging threats to democracy. Really? Swiftly respond to threats to democracy. And what would that be? Deporting illegal immigrants, criminal aliens, things like that, going after criminals, things like that, not funding foreign wars, things like that kind of threat to democracy. Is that the threats to democracy? Because I'm not sure what threats to democracy they're referring to here. According to the website, the group will also design affirmative strategies to protect the rule of law in the states and reinforce key state institutions to safeguard democratic entities such as state courts, executive agencies, and elections. The Times reported that Julia Spiegel, who is one of the Governor Gavin Newsom's top former legal advisors, will hold a head staff position in the group. Lovely. You gotta love this, and you gotta love these people, man. I just don't understand what is going on in their brain. Do they not see that a bunch of states getting together to defy the federal government, even though they're not outright saying that, but we know that's what they mean, because they're putting it together because Trump got elected, and they think he's this big great threat to democracy because MSNBC keeps on saying he's a threat to democracy. Joe Biden says he's a threat to democracy, and I don't know where they're getting that from, because I lived under Donald Trump's presidency, right? I paid attention to politics, not a lot, but a little bit back then. And I don't understand what in the hell they're talking about. I don't understand why they think he's such a threat to democracy. The country was run pretty good back then. The economy was booming. We didn't start any new wars. As a matter of fact, he was trying to get our troops back from abroad. So I'm not sure what they're getting at here, what their threat is, but I think I know what it is. They just don't like Donald Trump. And they're trying to do everything they can to defy getting investigated because of crimes they may have committed. Right? We know that that's why the machine is having such an anaphylactic response to Matt Gaetz. Because Matt Gaetz is a congressman that goes after the deep state. He questions these people, say, hey, this is ridiculous. Why are we doing this? Why is the government paying for stuff like this? And they don't like being questioned. They just want to rule with an iron fist, if you will, and just leave it at that. I don't understand these people. I think they all just need to sit down and shut up and buckle up, Susie, because we're going for a freaking ride, folks. And if this government doesn't get cleaned out, I'm going to have a lot to say about it. I'm going to have a whole hell of a lot to say about it, because Trump made a bunch of promises, y'all. He did. And from his cabinet picks, it looks like it's shaping up to come through 100% on those promises and clean that swamp out, that sewer, that sewage pit, cesspit that it is. Because that's exactly what it seems like it is to me. Just a garbage dump, if you ask me. A bunch of lobbyists got together and was like, I wonder if we go and buy off a bunch of congressmen, if we can get them to vote in our interests and against the American people, because that sure is what it seems like these days. They just vote in their own interests, and they don't care about what is in the interest of the American people. I mean, why else would you allow 10 to 15 million criminal aliens to come across our southern border? Why else would you allow the government to spend in a $1.8 trillion deficit? Why else would you send $200 billion to fund a foreign war? Don't get it, y'all. I don't get it whatsoever. But maybe you guys do. Maybe you guys do. And I want y'all to let me know if you guys do get it down in the comment section. Hey, don't forget to smash that like button for me if you're new around here. Subscribe. I would appreciate it. And y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.